Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Farscape, Season 3, Episode 8, Green-Eyed Monster. Talon is eaten by a budong. What are your thoughts here?
I like this episode.
Is that because it was a good episode?
I think so. That's
Or
figured out.
Just have bad taste. It's a solid episode. Nice little adventure inside the budong, which makes its return from the episode Home on the Remains, I think, in Season 2. I say it like that because I'm uncertain.
Oh, okay. I thought you just said too weird.
Yeah, it's Season 2, Episode 7. There you go.
So there are still two Johns. Well, as far as we know. The other John could have died off screen, I guess, but I like that they don't feel obligated to use both every single episode. I don't know what follows and where that all goes, but I was expecting just nonstop John and John shenanigans, and I'm glad they didn't do that they're okay with, hey, we can do normal episodes too.
I would not be happy if every episode was John and John pulling the wool over people's eyes with their twin powers.
That would be awful.
It was good for one. It may have even been good for 2 or 3. But it's a gimmick.
But even though this doesn't feature both Johns, we know the other one exists, and it makes aspects of this episode interesting. It works on its own, but it enhances stuff. So John and Aaron share a really nice, sweet moment at the end. I'm just going to jump to the ending. That is unique to that John now, and that's strange to think about. So the other John doesn't know about this, but then now Aaron, let's say this John dies. Aaron has this memory, and she also knows that John maps out the stars and names the center after her. There's no reason for her to know that, but then if that were revealed, that's really strange for that other John to experience. That's invasive, and I don't know, it made my mind go in weird places, and that's really fun because that wasn't even the point of the episode.
It's Farscape being clever again by having a situation and then spending time examining the fallout. E.g., they get tortured, then they're very sad. Rather than fine, like most shows. So yeah, here we have character development, which, yeah, that's another thing the show actually spends time on. But character development in a way which harms the other copy of John. Well, not necessarily harms, but it's divergent.
It also ups the stakes for whenever one of the Johns is in peril, because there's a greater chance that he will die because they have another one. It's not a huge risk for the writers, but when John was stuck outside the ship, I thought, oh, this is how they're going to get rid of one of the Johns? It's a possibility, and so there's greater tension there.
That's true, I suppose.
You don't sound convinced.
Well, that is the way that when characters are cloned in sci-fi, the clone either dies or leaves to become a monk. So yeah, it makes sense that one Crichton could die. Or a big twist, they both die.
Aw.
I felt some of the character development in this was a little heavy-handed.
Like John going all emo after looking at the USB key.
Yeah. It's just space fanfic.
That actually confused me. I I thought, wait, they slept together? I missed this. And then, oh, okay, it's not real.
Because she offered herself to Grace. That was real.
Yes, but then,
We never found out what happened.
okay.
It seemed like they probably didn't. But they never really answered it. I think context is somewhat important.
I need more context.
Well, Aaron was trying to save John from the shadow depository and being murdered by Scorpius and probably tortured a lot first. I just get the feeling Scorpius would be the torturing kind.
That's a good hunch.
He seems like a sadist. So John's emo tantrum was... I mean, that is how people can react. But it's... Okay, so usually I complain when shows don't have enough lasers and explosions and stuff, and they have too much people crying about whose bodily fluids ended up where. Because every show has the bodily fluids thing, and that's... You can watch any show for that, but not every show has lasers. However, this episode did have a bunch of stuff with what I would class as lasers and explosions, e.g. the harpoon stuff and the giant space monster and all that.
Lots of space adventuring stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not too fussed about the emo stuff. Plus, I really like the end. Although it was weird when the star went twinkle.
That's the one
like,
thing.
No, stop! You went too far.
Had they just stopped short of that, it would have been perfect.
They're already kissing. Jeez.
And then they fade into the stars. You don't need the twinkle.
Yeah. This was quite a dense episode. There was a lot going on. I think it was one of these ones that was pitched quite right. I think some Farscape episodes go too far and are just too full of weird stuff.
It's easy for me to imagine a lesser version of this episode where there's a third plot and then it just feels overstuffed and as if it were just thrown in there so we could have Dargo and Chiana, Jewel. You don't need to have everyone all the time engaged.
It was well balanced. It was exciting all the way through. I especially liked all the stuff with harpoons. That was cool.
You don't see harpoons a lot. Or I don't. I don't want to presume your life.
I expect I see harpoons pretty much the same as everyone else. Not very often at all. I bring up Stark every time he's in an episode, just by rote now, but Stark was
to remind me.
He's so good. He's, in my opinion, the most compelling character on the show.
I really like when he's on screen. He won me over a long time ago.
Yeah, whenever he's on screen, he steals the scene completely.
He and Rigel make an interesting duo.
Yeah. He shoved his fist down Rigel's throat.
He's a bit too crazy to be manipulated by Rigel, and so he ends up with a fist down his throat.
You can't manipulate a guy from A to B if you don't even know if he's at A or not. He might end up at B, but he could end up at F or J or something. This episode also filled out stuff about Talon. Grace keeps going on about Talon being, oh no, really unpredictable, really a super dangerous super weapon. And that's always just been Grace yelling at the ceiling, stop it, Talon, you're being a bad boy, you have to trust me, etc. I'm really glad that got significantly fleshed out. because Talon has been a non-character.
To be fair, most ships are.
Yeah, I mean, Moya's not much of a character, but at least Moya's not a one-trick pony like Talon. At least Talon here presented some sort of depth of thought. I mean, not particularly, but better than usual.
I didn't see it as fleshing out Talon as much as here's the influence it has on Krace, and let's make Krace more interesting. But I guess that goes hand in hand. They are literally linked.
I'm really glad about something when Erin says she'll show Talon something, and it has a lot of faded images. I'm really glad she didn't say, that's what it's like to love someone.
I thought that's what they were going for. I was so ready to roll my eyes and groan. I was very prepared.
Yeah.
What they went with is just slightly different, but so much better.
Yeah. It's like the difference between salt on potato chips and sugar on potato chips. See, because it's two similar looking things. One of them's not good in a combo.
Thanks for explaining that.
Shall I shut up now?
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a little while. There's something that I'd like to bring up that you may have missed.
Okay.
This episode was written by someone.
Oh, I didn't look at the credits.
All episodes are written by someone. The writer was Ben Browder.
Oh. Is this the first one he's written? I'm assuming it is, because
Yes,
okay.
it's his first television script.
Wow. Not even first Farscape, just first ever.
He nailed it, I think.
That's a hell of a debut.
Yeah.
This seems like a seasoned Farscape writer wrote it.
Sadly, he never went into writing. He has a handful of writing credits, but yeah, he's primarily an actor. Which it's just, I say that because I think if someone can write an episode like this, then and this episode is not perfect by any means, but it's a solid episode in a show which has decent standards for writing as well.
Yeah, the bar's not low here. And we have plenty of experience ripping apart episodes.
Oh, there's Farscape episodes that are way worse written than this. That makes it sound like this is better written. There are episodes that are comparatively very bad. So Ben Browder is a bit of a sci-fi nerd. I think that's what he self-proclaimed.
Okay.
There was a bunch of sci-fi references. Maybe you picked up on some.
I picked up on That's No Moon, the very obvious one.
Yep.
Is referring to Winona Ryder a sci-fi reference?
No, that's just the name of his gun. And Winona is named after Winona Ryder.
There aren't very many Winonas.
That's not, I don't think that's sci-fi. I think that's just Crichton likes Winona Ryder. Aaron had a line about the interior of the Budong being pitch black.
Ah.
There's a film called Pitch Black, and that stars Vin Diesel and also Claudia Black as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
But yeah, a little joke for you there. They also mentioned Mintaka 3 as the name of the star, which is the name of a place in Star Trek The Next Generation, which is written by a guy who also writes for Farscape. I'm just reading this off the wiki pretty much verbatim. I know I consigned unit news to the grave last time, but I have some unit breaking unit news. Special
Go on
report. So, Talon uses cesium fuel.
Yes.
And cesium reacts with water and goes kaboom.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Oh.
Cesium is a real element, and it really goes boom with water. Although I wish they'd pushed it one further and said francium.
I'm glad you brought this up because I didn't know that's a real thing. And when John was aware of the combo and what it would do, I was annoyed because I thought, why does he know what these fake elements do when they come in contact? But if they're real, that's great. And it actually does that. So now I can shed that annoyance.
Yeah. Do you want a little science lesson here? It's good
Always
for YouTube videos. So the left-hand side of the periodic table is hydrogen at the top. Then under that is lithium. Lithium's not too happy in water. Sodium fizzes nicely in water. Potassium, that's pretty good in water. Rubidium, I think that'll go pretty. I think it goes on fire in water. Cesium outright explodes in water, like a proper explosion. It's highly reactive. Then below that is francium. Francium doesn't exist because it's so reactive. Like, it's a real element and it does exist, but it's not. If you go and look at a picture of the periodic table with all the elements, with little samples of them, the one for francium will not have a sample because you cannot have a sample of it. It's so reactive. Water is ubiquitous on Earth, so francium is not. Although I'm not a chemist, it may even react with other things. It probably does. So if they'd really wanted to go for the sci-fi angle, they could have said francium because that would be very sci-fi. But cesium, yeah, that's pretty reactive. I imagine you could make something go fast with it because reactions tend to make things move and happen. But here's where the Unit News special report happens. Aren't all elements and chemicals made up sci-fi names?
You lost me.
Just last week, they were looking for chromextin, and it was
right.
with chlorium, which was something they introduced in season 1. Both of which are fanciful, made-up things. But cesium is cesium. So
because we're not smart enough to have found the others yet.
Oh, so he understands that one is cesium, so it translated as cesium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you would know that one is cesium, though.
You wouldn't, and it doesn't make sense, but that's okay.
Well, if they told him it's a simple compound that reacts strongly with water, any NASA guy would have taken a good stab with potassium, rubidium, cesium, one of those.
But it could be an element that is not known to humans, and it also has that property.
Yeah, there's lots of other compounds which explode with water. Whatever. I probably should not have spent 10 minutes talking about cesium. It's cool, though. I don't know why they needed a warhead to detonate it, though.
Because it's fun to have explosions.
It is fun. I guess that would help mix them together.
They didn't have a blender, so they went with the warhead.
Oh, you don't need a blender. If you go on YouTube and look up cesium, you'll find people chucking like a little block the size of maybe a quarter of a slice of bread into like a bathtub or something, and the whole bathtub will just rupture.
Oh, wow.
It really explodes in water. It's very dangerous. I think I like it whenever they go outside the ship.
Spacesuits are cool.
Yes. Did you notice there were new spacesuits?
I did notice that, actually.
sexier than the previous spacesuits.
I noticed that as well. I took it as Talon provided these because he makes his own DRDs. Why not spacesuits? I mean, that makes about as much sense. And they're different.
Oh yeah, the DRDs are different, aren't they?
Not as sexy, but they're different.
They look a bit more sort of insect-like.
Yeah.
So presumably, yeah, Talon probably has a sort of spacesuit orifice somewhere that births spacesuits. Or the DRDs just manufacture them.
Oh, that's not as fun. I like imagining a spacesuit orifice.
Well, have fun with that.
This was a good episode for orifices. There was talk of flying out the ass. And then,
right. They talked about the sex tape.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there was that. The whole ass thing.
And then a hand goes down a throat, as in Rigel's, and then they fly out of the mouth of the Budong on a wave of vomit.
In front of the vomit.
Yeah.
I love his phrasing of that line. Do you want to know a plot hole?
Yes.
Talon released John's cable, even though Talon was on manual override, and could not release the cables without controlling Crace.
Oh, I didn't think that was a mistake. I thought it was manual override isn't as effective anymore because Talon is gone rogue.
It's not gone rogue. He just hates everyone.
He's racist.
He hates John. Does he hate Rigel and Stark as well?
Yeah, they're different. He's racist.
It seems like he specifically hates John, though. At least that's what I took. Maybe it's because he's almost a peacekeeper type guy, but isn't actually one.
Oh, yeah. He's really close to looking like a peacekeeper, but he's not, so it's even worse.
It's like an uncanny valley thing for Talon.
Whereas Rigel is clearly not a peacekeeper.
Yeah, spacing Rigel would be both sad and a kindness. That's kind of harsh. Do you have a quote from this episode?
Mother always said I'd die from incompetence. I really like that line because it's funny to imagine little Rigel, being chastised by his mother, and she's just talking about ways he's going to die, and that's really weird. Because he says always said. This is something that came up repeatedly. Why would she talk about how he's going to die all the time?
Because he's a Dominar. He was a little baby Dominar. I love how it's incompetence as well, not his incompetence.
Yeah, just the idea of incompetence. Because it exists.
Is gonna do you in because they're an idiot.
Which seems so fitting and explains his worldview. The bad things that happen to me are other people's fault, and everyone else is incompetent.
Yeah. That's Rigel. Shall we watch the next episode?
I can't think of a reason to say no, so yes.
Cool. Phew, I was really confused about what we should do, so I'm glad you sorted that out.
I actually just came up with a reason, but let's go watch anyway.
Okay. Let's go.